Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. We are back with another update for my M113K R171 project, codenamed SCHNEIDER. This is my SLK55 AMG in a beautiful solar beam yellow. I always like to remind you guys of this color because it's one of my favorite colors, and it's not wrap, it's actually painted in and out, at least for whatever I could get them to do. Most jobs like this are very demanding as far as cost-wise, and it's a lot of work for a body shop. So I'm grateful again for Johnny at Auto Body Creations doing this for me. But she is gorgeous. Right now, we're just doing another update on this video itself, just to show the progress of the vehicle and some very key updates, which can be beneficial for you M113K owners. And as you can see, my M113K temp motor is moving along really nicely. Temp motor, as this is being my dummy motor, my first motor, the motor that's going to be in the vehicle while I drive it around, while I actually build a more powerful motor, something a little bit more than the norm. And that's my end game there. And right now we are looking at it partially assembled. It looks amazing in this color, the gold pulleys. I went with UPD, Ultimate Performance and Design pulleys all the way through, including a belt rack kit. Went back to my original roots with my E55. I'm just replicating it, but it's going into my SLK55. Now, I know this is an old platform in both statures for the R171 and this engine, but it is still costly. If you guys are considering to do something similar to this, it is not cheap, especially if you're doing a refresh, even on just basic exterior components, water pump, thermostat housing, thermostat, pulleys, all that stuff. All this adds up into the thousands just by itself. I mean, each main component, from the water pump itself to brand new components as far as an FZT power steering pump and a SEG alternator. Each one of these components here pretty much go from $300 to $400 a piece. Some cases they're like in the $280 mark, but it adds up. Not to mention brand new coil packs, $348 worth. I'm just reminding myself, and let's not forget spark plugs for the matter. And we're also going with Bosch 550cc injectors. A little bit more headroom for this temp motor, and if you notice, the beautiful 77mm clutch pulley from UPD in gold. Of course, I am going a similar route to my E55, mainly supporting mods for that 77mm and 82mm throttle body with pretty much matching snout is where I'm going at. Now, I'm pretty sure they're wondering where that supercharger is. That leads to at least a good chunk of this video. Now, this is something you don't really see in a lot of videos with people rebuilding their superchargers for the most part. And this is something I wanted to share with you all. If any of you want to attempt this yourself, it is possible with your own tools. And if you're pretty good as far as, maybe not doing that, but if you're doing basic work on your vehicle, this is something that you can achieve. Now, this won't be a step-by-step process. I kind of got a little carried away and already kind of disassembled it, but it's pretty straightforward. Disassembling is pretty standard. It's going to come into 4 components, one not being in this video right now because it's over there in the back end, but it's going to have obviously the bottom cooler, which is like a Y basically in the bottom cooler itself. It's going to have your snout, the main casing, and there's 2 pieces here. One is the front snout with the drum, and one is this segment here, which houses the rotor pack. So you got 4 pieces there that you got to disassemble. And if I come on this side, you'll see that, well, actually, hold on, let me go on the other side. If I come on this side, it's basically housed by these 5 main bolts and these 2 bottom bolts, which are kind of already underneath here. Can't really see them, but they're down at the very bottom. These 2, they're actually holding these 2 components, the front snout and the rotor pack itself. It's actually holding that, since these bolts here can't really link to this casing. I have them set just to keep it in place. There is a gasket in between here, like between the other sections itself. These are the gaskets right here, two of which I'm pretty sure they don't make, one of which you can buy, which is the one that goes to the back of the snout to the back of the casing. This is also held by these 3 bolts here. And I know this might be a little confusing, but I rest assured when you have your supercharger on your table, it's going to make sense to you. And these are the main ones that actually hold it in place. Now, obviously, when you strip it down, the first thing you want to strip down is the bottom cooler itself. It's held by 4 bolts. You remove that out. Separate it from the supercharger itself, and then set your supercharger on the table. Once you do that, you can go ahead and take this snout off. 3 bolts remaining, 1 at the top, 2 at the bottom. Once you do that, you can separate it. Be very careful because this one has the gasket. Oh, this gasket is, you can buy another one, but you know, just keep it on the side. It's always best to have it as a spare. They are metal gaskets, so they're not really gonna fail, especially for this type of setup. So if you wanna replace it, you can. Once you separate that, you're gonna wanna separate the rotor pack itself. Now, obviously it's apart, but before how this was set up, these two ends here are coming out of this back end, and this is where the factory bearings sit inside there. You'll see 2 of them with the races sticking out, and at the very end, these clips. Make sure you take these off before you pull it out to reduce the risk of damaging or scraping the inside of the casing. So that's important to take those off. Once you do that, you're going to go to the front of your supercharger, and you're going to want to remove these 5 bolts. If we're looking at it from top to bottom, you can see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 at the sides at the very bottom. You can see them over there. Other one, well, back there. There's 2 other ones at the very end that are down here. You don't need to take those off unless you want to separate this. You don't really need to. Keep in mind there is oil in here. That jet oil is inside there. So on an added note, you could drain it. Drain port's right over there, but not necessary. When you do release this seal up here is also held by a gasket, which you cannot see because it's already inside. I had to put it back, so I put it right back in there so I don't forget. You're gonna wanna go ahead and just make sure you drain that oil because then it might seep out. Now, once you do that, you should be able to separate the casing from the rotor pack, doing those main things that I mentioned, those clips, and removing those 5 bolts. You should be able to separate it, and it will slide out. Be very careful. It's always good to have an extra helping hand to help you because it is heavy, and you don't want to run the risk of damaging inside here, the casing, or even damaging your rotor packs for the matter. So once you separate it, you can set this baby on the table. If you look right here in front, these are the original races, original bearings. And as you can see, they are actually not bad, including the races. The races themselves, there's hardly to any wear here. You just see the outline of where it would race around. And they're actually pretty good for the most part. But I wanted to replace them with some new bearings. These are from CRE. And there's a huge difference from the 2. Let's grab the OEM. Sorry, I have a headlight, so it seems to throw it off, but there you go. You can see the differences right off the bat. And including matching races. Races are not compatible, so you have to take both off. If you buy this kit from them, they have their own races for it. As you can tell, it's different on these little bearings here. There's a different in size and design. Casing, everything else is the same, but the internal parts completely different. So you got to make sure if you're going to do this, you're going to have to take the old ones off, which is not hard at all, and I'll show you. So once you separate the packs and the OEM bearings are still in place, they are sealed in with resin, and you can see the resin is still in there in the grooves all the way around, including there's still some in this bearing as well. So be prepared for a loud pop, like a bang, almost like if you broke something. Keep that in mind. Don't worry, the casing will be fine. And let me show you what I had to do. Went to Harbor Freight and paid $169 before taxes for this shop press, 12-ton hydraulic bottle jack basically, and a press. And I was able to do it with the actual casing inside. And let me show you how I set it. And that's pretty much how I had to set it in place. Now the bearings only come out one way and they come out downward. So in order to pop them out, you need to get something long enough that goes in with the socket. And what works amazing with this is a 24mm Pittsburgh socket, also from Harbor Freight. Goes right over the bearing inside the casing itself. It actually goes through the hole. So you should be able to use one of these. If you need an extension, which I did, I used basically from an old jack itself, the handle. Just slid this into that and it was my extension. And this end I had to hold it by hand. So it sat pretty much on top and just pressed it down. And I just pumped it. A good note, get a bunch of shop rags, new ones, clean ones, and stuff them inside this casing all the way around. Because when you're pretty much pumping that thing, it is gonna pop and it might scare the shit out of you, for one. And not only that, the pressure might make the socket or the whatever you're using inside kind of bounce around in there. So put some shop rags inside this casing around, just stuff it all the way in. So if it does move around in there, it's gonna hit the rags versus the inner casing. And then once you pop it out, and it'll be a loud bang. I really wish I would have showed you guys, but again, I got carried away. You're gonna do the same on the other side. So just keep in mind, I didn't have it sit on this. I actually used this foam here, not these plates. I used this foam and I leveled the foam where, because this is the face where it connects to your snout. So you don't want to damage this on here. I put this foam covering as much as I can down there to prevent it from messing up here. It doesn't require a lot of pressure, but hey, you want to be on the safe side. You want to protect the casing and especially all the mating surfaces. So that's a good note to use this foam. You can get it pretty much anywhere. Got it from Harbor Freight too, so it's a win-win. Now the most scary part is removing the old races from the actual rotor packs. And doing so, again, another Harbor Freight tool. And it's a simple bearing separator and puller set. $59. This is what it includes. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I used these pieces here. This sits over the race. Now showing you can be pretty tedious, but let me just give you an example. Now when you put this, you're going to put the base of this tool at the very end of the race. And when you're setting it, you want it to, when you're about to pull it, you want it as close to the race at the base of it. And you're going to tighten these. You don't have to do these tight at all. Just snug them by hand. Snug on both ends, all four. And so it clamps down firmly onto this race. Then these two holes, you're going to screw in these pieces that I showed you on both ends. Remove these ends here. And then on those two pieces you screw in, this slits right over those. And then you put those bolts back on to the end so it locks it into place. Then you grab this piece. This piece goes straight into the center, like that, inside. And as you're screwing it in, you're going to want it to snug it by hand first and have it nice and tight. And let me just show you. And it's going to be something like this. Obviously, this rod's not going to be fully extended out. It's going to go all the way in with the tip of it going inside that hole there. And you're just going to start applying pressure. Make sure this is seated properly. See how it has a little bit of play, but you want it to at least hand tighten. Do not over tighten this at all with the tool. Just use it by hand. That's what all I did. And it's just enough to keep pressure on the race. You don't want to keep pressure on the spindle itself that the race sits on or rests on. That way you can just pop them out and just take your time. What I did was I sprayed a little bit of WD-40 on here. Obviously I didn't have this race or this whole setup laying down. I had it vertical, so I had it in a bucket, and it held it in place for me. And I just sprayed a little WD-40 in here, and it just soaked in. That's why this will just come straight out when you're tightening this over. And again, I know a lot of you might know all this stuff already, but these are for the people that are not too familiar with this, that are going to try it for themselves. That way they have a little confidence to get this done. And last but not least, putting the new races on. So what I did, I got the new races with the wording and everything, all the engraving on the outside. Put it over here. Sprayed a little WD-40, just a little bit on the actual spindle itself where the race is going to glide on. And I held it in place. I grabbed the old race, sat it right over, and I started hammering it. And you're just going to hammer it and hammer it and hammer it. Both of these races will get snug into place because you would have to sit this one all the way in. If that happens, don't panic. You have a tool. That bearing puller we used to remove them, this other race, when you're hammering it and you're setting it in place, this one will get stuck on it as well. Like if this one's going to go right over this as well. The race is going to be literally on there, and you're not going to be able to pull it off. You're simply just going to put your bearing puller, the same tool that we used to pull this one, you're going to put it in between the new race and the old race, clamp it down by hand, nice and snug, and do the same process to remove it. That little thing will go right inside the race, and it'll put pressure, and it's not going to take much effort to pop it off. As you can tell, it got stuck a little bit. See? Gets stuck, so you got to pop it right off. But that's what you'll do. You're going to have to hammer it. And trust me, it feels like you're breaking it, but you're not. Just take your time, little WD-40, and just hammer it into place. Once that new race is in, you're going to see exactly how it sits. Let me see if I can get a... You're going to want it where the grooves are visible for the clips to go into place. And that's it. You got the most hard part done. There is this part right here. The next one is going to be a little tedious too. Now, these new bearings go in the same way, and they go in dry. From the manufacturer of these, they told me they go in dry. You don't need to put, you could put some bearing grease or stuff like that on the outside, just a thin film so it can go in, but it's not necessary. They go in dry, and then you pack them. These do need to be packed. These covers come off. Now, when you're pressing them in, it's the same concept. Use your old bearings, sit it right over, and you're going to do the same thing, either with the shot press. Is this something you can consider? Another thing you could also do is put these in the freezer. Put these in the freezer for about 2 hours. Just let them get frozen, and it'll be a lot easier to push these in. So, and you're gonna either use your press, the same manner how we showed you, or I don't know about the hammer thing, but I'm actually gonna do the press. I haven't tried the hammer again. This is my first time doing this, so I'm gonna do my press to push the new bearing in. Obviously, these are gonna be frozen. They're gonna be packed with grease in there, and once you do that and it sits in place, you can reassemble everything how you took it apart, and you should be good to go. And that's the end of it. This is just to do the rear bearings on the back of the Supercharger, which have been known to fail first versus anything in the front. In the front, there's a lot of support here inside, multiple bearings, gears. So this doesn't necessarily fail. It's the back end here that does. So that's something to consider itself. But yeah, overall, that's the end of this type of procedure. Not as difficult, but it does take patience, and then of course these nice cheap tools from Harbor Freight just to get this job done. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at on this project. Still going over some old components, cleaning the bypass, and then putting everything together. On an awesome note, I'm also doing rear subframe bushings. This is going to be nice. These are from Strong Flex. These are for the rear. These are for the diff, refreshing the back end, which is going to need it for the extra power that's going into my R171. But just to refrain from this going too long, I will update you guys shortly on what I plan to do next, or at least the steps that I've already taken with the supercharger in place and it going mounted into the car. So that's going to be the next phase of the video, is mounting the motor and transmission, getting it all set to make sure everything fits properly, and then I can start routing everything. And then when we do that, that subframe goes. But yep, this is the end of my video. Thank you all who are continuing to support me and watch my videos with entertainment and glee or excitement. It doesn't really matter. I'm just grateful that you guys are interested in the matter for this project. And if you guys are doing a similar project or working on a motor like this or a platform like this, hopefully my videos are at least of some help. That's the main purpose, is just sharing my experiences to help you all do-it-yourselfers, basically, or those that want to do it yourself, to give you the motivation and the perseverance to do something like this in your own garage or even outside in your apartment complex. It don't really matter. I've done both, and it is possible. Maybe not to this level in an apartment complex parking lot, but at least you can get a good chunk of it, like the supercharger, or just repairing your vehicle. But in any case, I digress. You all take care, and thank you for watching.